My name's Sumerah Ahmed. I'm the director of a radio station called Club Asia. We're based in Barking, and for me, my story doesn't start so far long ago, really. It's about 4 years. But I hopefully will share with you what I have learnt in that short amount of time. Where we started, well, I was working in the TV and film industry, earning very little amount of money, but doing something that I really, really enjoyed after qualifying in law. My parents weren't particularly happy about that, but they supported my decision, and I think that's a key thing right there. Having the support of people who love and trust you, I think, is incredibly important. But essentially, the idea for Club Asia was myself and my sister literally flicking radio channels, and we thought, well, there isn't really a radio station that's kind of identifies with me, that plays the music I want to hear, that talks to me. I would, flick between all manner of stations, both Asian and non-Asian, and the fact that I was flicking, I think, was the thing that came up in our minds. We thought, well, somebody should go out and they should do a radio station, and it should target, Asian people who were born and brought up in this country. We thought it was a pretty good idea, and that somebody eventually would go out and do it. What we then found was that literally, I think by chance, we were speaking to somebody who actually did know the radio industry. Myself and Sumerah had absolutely no clue about radio broadcasting. She's an accountant, and I was a lawyer. What then happened, though, I think, is opportunity reared its head, and through just speaking to people and learning more and taking just an interest generally, we were speaking to people who had deep knowledge in the radio industry and literally just floated the idea past them. The main person that we floated the idea past was a guy called John Ogden, who has more years in radio than he cares to say. He, at that time, was a bit jaded about the whole thing. He thought radio was very formulaic. It didn't really serve its purpose as a community medium, and was taking a break. Then we came along and said, well, what about this idea? And he thought, well, okay, I'll have a look into it and see whether the numbers add up for you. He came back and said, well, actually, there is a significant Asian population in London that could support the kind of broadcasting service you're suggesting, being born and brought up in this country. Myself and Sumerah were like, yeah, no kidding. Then he basically said, well, why don't we pitch for a license? We didn't even know that you had to pitch for a license. We thought you just go in and you set one up and it's that simple. But no, you actually have to apply, and that's quite a tedious process. We also knew that myself and Sumerah, although we had the idea, we had absolutely no experience. So us waltzing into the radio authority and saying, hey, give us a radio license, probably wasn't going to work. So what we did say, we identified the fact that we didn't have necessarily the skills or experience that the broadcasting body would be looking for. So we hooked up with people who did. I think identifying your weaknesses and finding people who strengthen that proposition is another key area that I would definitely suggest any one of you look at. We joined hands with Eastern Eye, Usha Palmer in Bradford. We had a radio consultancy firm in there as well. And by sheer force of cornering her on every possible level, we managed to sway Baroness Flather to also be our chairman. I think she felt sorry for myself and Sumerah and thought we needed help, so she agreed to be our chairman. We essentially put a license application together, and we were largely targeting Asians just like me and Sumerah. Major challenges that we face. Well, radio is hugely competitive, not much money in it. I'm sitting with people who, oh my goodness. Not much money in radio, but there's a lot of, we get a lot of satisfaction from it. But it's incredibly competitive, even though it's not necessarily, if you're doing it for the money, it's probably the wrong industry to be in. We had to compete for a license against, as I mentioned earlier, people who've made a living out of doing so. I like that particular quote because, I don't know, it's just nice. That's the reason why the Radio Authority awarded it to us. and we like that one. The other thing was, fine, we won a radio license. That means we won the ability to put on a radio station. But we had to actually start up a business. We didn't think, actually in the back of your mind, we didn't think we were going to win. We thought, we'll put in the license application, we'll blow all our money in this, and then they won't give it to us, and we'll just go back to our day jobs. But we did win it, and so that means we had to actually fulfill on everything that we said we were going to set out to do, which is quite daunting. And we also had to start up a business that existed in a monopoly. We also had a lack of skills. I'm not only talking about myself and Sumerah, but the team of people that we had to build. We also had problems, I think, I'm not sure, well, I'm going to say it anyway, but there were issues with regards to us entering a market where we were quite young, and our clients were, were older, were first generation, and selling to them was an important factor. Being able to talk to first generation owned businesses and and being able to communicate with them of what was essentially a very new proposition was quite difficult. But we managed, find a common ground in everything you do, and I'm sure you'll find a way. The Asian advantage. I think that there are many things. I don't think there's particularly something that if you're Asian you're going to be successful. But I think there's things about being Asian that's particularly highlighted in the Asian community that that if you pick up on and you utilise that, it will work for you. The first, I think, is passion. Passion to believe in what you're doing. And by that, I mean, what I akin it to in terms of Asian speak is the strength of vision. Our parents came over here with next to nothing. And I think they had to have the very clear strength of the vision of what their life could be. Not even a promise, but what it could be. And they followed that. And I think if we pick up on that kind of, that kind of vision that they had to actually leave everything they knew to come over and start up in a brand new country, then I could start up a company. It's just being able to take that little small step of faith. Knowing that you can't do it alone, I think that's come out from a lot of the speakers here today. Having people who you trust, who you can ask for help for, because you can't do anything yourself. You can't do everything yourself, I mean, and you are going to need help along the way, and you're going to make mistakes. So having that support network with you, whether it's your immediate family, your extended family, your friends who you call family, or your business colleagues, having that support is really, really important. I think that's a key thing that a lot of Asians do touch upon with the whole multi-generational families. The third thing is never take the first offer, something my dad taught me. The price tag is just this jumping off point. There's places you can go from there, so haggle, 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 haggle. Being able to communicate the company's vision and goals effectively to all staff. And this is a favourite with my sisters, because she believes that we all need to be communicated from bottom up in terms of what the company is trying to do. And I always tell her she always does that by just literally shouting. So talking loudly, because my parents all do it. We're on the phone, and I'm going to finish now. So I'm going to stop that story. Bad idea. Always look for opportunity in everything. I akin that to a biryani in the sense that you just chuck everything in. Just give it a go. Knowing that it's going to be hard and you're going to make mistakes, self-discipline, whether it's religious discipline, whether it's your family discipline, whether it's, these are Asian things, but having the self-discipline to get up again the next morning and do it. And lastly, I think, is the ability to problem solve and use the available resources that you have to you. You guys are all sitting next to other people. The person sitting next to you is an opportunity, so don't let that one pass you by. Thank you.